Welcome to Why Don't We Dress for Dinner Anymore? With the queen of edge, sass, and class, Teddy Crockman.
And my partner in crime, Melissa Pierce, documentarian and junior edgy style fashionista. Today, our guest is Ray Jeremiah, Chicago fashion stylist extraordinaire. I had met Ray at a fashion show about a year ago, and Ray, you were wearing a fabulous silver suit with a silver hat that got photographed literally by everyone.
Yes.
I mean, you were like in every publication, I remember.
Yeah.
And I said, I have to know this man. I have to know how his brain is working. So we're going to meet with Ray today, and we're going to find out what Ray's aesthetic is and other interesting facts about Ray Jeremiah and his career as a fashion stylist. So welcome, Ray.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. The first question I'd like to ask you is because I've done some research on you, and I found out that you have an undergraduate degree in finance and computers, and you have a master's degree in marketing. And you've been working in the financial arena for about the last 8-9 years, I believe.
Yes.
And you also work as a fashion stylist.
Yes.
So again, another guest who has really no formal training in fashion, yet has somehow eked out a career in the fashion world. So can you tell us, Ray, a little bit about how you go from billing, financial analyst, to fashion stylist extraordinaire? How does that background intertwine, if at all, or transition into your fashion career?
Well, first, let me say thank you both for having me. When you reached out to me about the opportunity to come on here and speak about myself and my background, I was definitely humbled. I felt so seen and appreciated. You invited me to your home, and Melissa, you guys just welcomed me and just for me, really feel comfortable.
Well,
So thank you both for both having me. And kudos to both of you teams starting this podcast to highlight creatives like myself, designers, stylists, just fashionistas who are just making their way and making their mark here in the Chicago scene. So thank you both.
Oh, well, we're glad to have you. We're glad to have you.
Now, as far as my background, what I was telling you both before we started filming, it's been a journey. It's definitely been a journey.
Yeah.
What most people don't know that as a child, I started out drawing. Because, growing up in the home, I was the only child. So to find ways to entertain myself, I would just draw, and I would just draw with what was in my imagination. It didn't matter whether it came from my mind or whether I saw from what I saw in magazines or on TV. I would just draw, and I was very specific in what I wanted to, how I wanted to be perceived and how I wanted to come out. And I would paint. So just having that creative background, I think it's just something that was just always in me, just something.
You just had the creative mentality.
Just creative mentality altogether. It was just.
But then you didn't go into anything creative in your education.
Right.
No. Well, actually, you know what? Back in, I think, my sophomore year of high school, I did take an art class.
Okay.
And I was drawing and had the freedom of to just do whatever I wanted to do. But, still had the class assignments that I had to draw. So one of my art pieces got a feature in the local art show. I helped paint a mural that's now still a feature in the school so many odd years later. And it's in part painting a mural that's inside the classroom. I think it's still there. I mean, I don't want to tell my age too much. But yeah, so I think it's just something that's just born in me. Now, sadly, I think after the art class, I kind of felt out of love with it, with drawing a little bit. Because I think it was something that it was repetitive every day. So I think eventually, because before then, I was drawing my own free time.
Yeah.
So I think because it came so repetitive, and it's like I don't know if it's the cancer in me or the water signs. Sometimes we're never truly satisfied, or we get bored so quickly.
Yeah.
So we kind of move on to the next thing. So of course, I graduated from high school, went to college, went to DePaul University, my alma mater, Blue Demons.
Go Blue Demons.
Go Blue Demons. And so I initially started out wanting to do a communication degree, but I don't know. I think it still wasn't triggering my interest. Again, that creative spirit, always looking for something new, because again, we're never satisfied, or we get bored with everything. And oddly enough, I think that's probably why I'm still single. Because I get bored too quick. I get bored too quick.
You're too specific and bored. He's specific and too bored. So if you're not specific and you're not boring, check out Ray.
Yeah.
Maybe you just need someone a little magical like you.
Probably so.
Yeah.
Probably so. But yeah. So eventually, I think, or my sophomore year, I think I ended up changing my majors and went to computers and digital media. So it actually concentrated in TV production. So that's the other thing that people don't really know.
Of what kind of production?
TV production.
Television production. So you did go into a creative field,
I did go to
even if you went into the production side of it.
In the production, so I have experience with writing TV scripts, the little planner as far as how the day will go.
Yeah.
So playing around with Final Cut and 3D animation. So I did that for 3+ years.
Okay.
Got my undergrad degree. So then after I graduated from college, I tried finding a job in the market here. But of course, with the city of Chicago, it can be it's not about what you know, it's who you know.
Exactly.
And if you don't know anybody, then you're not really going to get into the door. So
yes.
Eventually, here I am. I'm a college graduate with this degree. So what am I to do? Okay, well, let me go find a job that's going to help me pay my bills, because of course I can't depend on, mommy and daddy and family members to help me out, because now I'm of age, and now it's like, I have to.
Story of my life.
Right. So I have to now, provide for myself essentially.
Yeah.
So I started taking odd jobs in different areas. I think I started as a file clerk. What else did I do? God, I think I did so many jobs. I think I was a shipping clerk at a warehouse.
Where did you get financial analyst then? Like, how did you get to finance?
So after the shipping clerk job, I think that was like in 2015, I got a call from one of my recruiters that went on to another company and that's how I officially got into the billing. Okay. Working in the billing department.
So that billing literally paid your bills.
Exactly.
Now how did you get your first big break as a stylist? Yes. Who called you up? Right. The billing guy?
Right.
Ray, I need a suit to wear to the company party. I mean, how did you get your first styling job?
God, man, you make me go down memory lane.
Yeah.
But again, everything is a journey, because this is, again, I had no formal training in fashion, really. I mean, I had the creative, I had the degree that was in TV production, but again.
And marketing, you have a master's in marketing.
Master's in marketing, but again, no really connection.
So who knew you?
So actually, let's rewind it back about 4 years ago into the pandemic.
Yes.
The world shut down.
Yep.
We can't go anywhere. Mm-hmm. So I was like, okay, well, I had bought all these clothes.
I have all these clothes.
Where am I going to go? Because, again, we're shut down. So what I did was I started modeling in these clothes and started posting it on social media. And, of course, everybody's at home. So what they're going to do?
Yes.
They're going to see it.
Right.
So eventually folks started just liking what I did. And a model had hit me up and he said, like, hey, I really like your style. Would you mind styling me for my, because he was a brand ambassador for Express. So at the time, so they were still, doing that. So it was like, okay, I have a photographer. I need you to come style me for these clothes that they sent me. So I started doing that, and I started styling him. Then eventually the guy was so impressed, the photographers were so impressed with what I did. His name was Project Z's. He was the
What's his name again?
Project Z's. He was the first ever photographer that I worked with.
Okay, shout out to him.
As a brand spanking new stylist who had no idea what the hell he was doing. he just figured like, okay, well, I'm just put some clothes together and hopefully everybody likes it. In the inside of my mind, but when I was on set, I acted like I knew what I was doing. So he liked what I did, and he wanted to start up a whole new magazine. And mind you, I had no experience with what I was doing.
Right.
I was just kind of just going with the flow of everything. So eventually we started to do that, but that didn't really take off. So eventually I just kind of just started, as a bird that's in the nest.
Yeah.
They eventually did fly away and grow up and do their thing. So that's what I kind of did. I kind of just started, moving around in different circles and kind of making those connections. And what I did was I started styling some of my family members and friends for free. So in those early stages, you see my page, like my friends and my cousin, I was styling them, and eventually just started it became it grew a life of its own, and people started loving it. And eventually, I think the following year, I worked with, it'll be my first time working with Blake Martin. Everybody knows that he's one of the great masterminds in fashion and the One Ray and real world-renowned photographer. And actually, I saw at the time, this is about around 2021, and he was having a photography special. And I was like, okay, well, I need to build up my portfolio. And how my mind worked is I always want to progress and not stay in a box and show what I can really do.
Right.
So what I did was I reached out to a designer named Stevie Edwards. He designed for Lisa Ray, an actress, and many other Hollywood elites. And so I reached out to him and I was like, hey, can I borrow one of your clothes for a shoot? And mind you, I had, again, a no-name stylist. Nobody know who I am.
Right.
I had barely had anything on my
But you got to take charge of something,
but I took a chance. And so he took a chance on me. And also, may he rest in peace, because he's sad he's not here with us anymore. He died last year. So, but he took a chance on me, and he allowed me to borrow one of his pieces. I did the shoot with Blake, and he loved what I did, and it kind of propelled me to do even more stuff. And he gave me my first opportunity to even do a fashion show. Again, only had 1 year styling under my belt, and again, I'm just learning as I'm going.
Yeah. Right.
So I just kept building and building until
kind of working your way up the ladder.
Yeah.
So you're 4 years in now, right? 4
years in now.
And now you actually kind of know what you're doing. So what's that process like? Let's say, I don't know, Adidas calls you up and they're like, we love your stuff. Like, what's the process of creating a commercial shoot for them with your unique styling?
Well, basically, I think it's just the point of, well, what's the story? What story that you're telling? What's the objective here? Is it
Oh, that's interesting. So you're like telling a story with your
styling.
I
like to tell a story with my styling. Like what is the look that we're trying to achieve? Like who are we marketing towards this to?
Right.
So that's the way I kind of approach it. Now, sometimes I don't. I think I just kind of create stuff on the fly because my mind just works. I don't know. I think sometimes maybe I have ADHD or something. But
it's half of the creative work.
Right. It's just that like my mind just works in different ways.
But you're also trained, so you also are pulling that in, and it's become second nature as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Because again, it's just something that creativity is just something that's instilled within me. So even if I may not have a lot of information, whoever reach out to me, or it's on the last minute or on the fly, they need something. Okay, well, I only have this amount of time. What look can I achieve with this? And who would be the perfect like designers or brand that I think that will help to kind of achieve the story that we want to tell? So I think that's how I kind of approach with some of my shoots.
Now, do you think that you have, because in my opinion, you do, but I want to hear the answer from you, Ray. Do you think you have a particular aesthetic? Because, I mean, I look at your bio and you've worked with a lot of very different brands or people who really are, okay, now you started, like you said, kind of styling your friend for Express, which is more kind of, I would say, teen to maybe early 30s kind of hip style, but kind of classic. But then you've also worked with my favorite Chicago designer, Dana Asady, who's more, to me, glamour and more classic kind of looking. But you've also worked with Kay Daniels. You've worked with Jersey Virago. You've worked with Stevie Edwards. You've worked with the pop star Shawna.
Yes.
And you have been published in, I believe, Harper's Bazaar.
Yes.
Okay, so now these are all very different.
Yes.
In their own styles and ways and everything like that. So how do you combine your personal aesthetic? Because to me, you do have a personal aesthetic. Mm-hmm. And how do you create for these different, very different looking types of clothes and people with that particular aesthetic that you have? And to me, your aesthetic is very dramatic, very out there, very bold.
Yes.
I mean, there's a picture, and maybe, I don't know, we can talk about that later if you can edit that in. But there is one picture that you took of a model. I think her name is Nikki Shasher.
Yes. Yes.
I love Nikki. First of all, hi, Nikki.
Hi,
you're gorgeous. Okay, so there's a picture of Nikki Shasher on your Instagram. Mm-hmm. I don't know how you came up with this, but she's got her hair like wound up, where she's got a tree on the top of her head.
Yes.
It looks like there's bark on her body. Then she's got like this metal bra. Yeah. Now wait for this.
But this is the Harper's one.
With flames. Flames shooting out of her breast. Okay, so that is Ray's aesthetic, everyone, to me. So now how do you take that kind of very flagrant, flamboyant, dramatic aesthetic and adapt it to these very different kinds of
Well, I think, like I said, I think my style is very bold, very dramatic.
It is.
And I think I like to take that aesthetic and then give it to each person that I work with. And so when I work with them, I kind of look at their page and look what they've done before and always think like, okay, what can they do different? What's going to be the most catching? What's going to be that's going to kind of transform them and give them like a different identity outside of themselves? Because when we put on these clothes, no matter what we're going through, it gives like, it's like a shield. It's almost like a costume, and you become like this whole different persona.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I think that's how I approach with some of my shoots. And again, shout out to the team who did that shoot. Mastermind.
That was fabulous. I love that look.
He's just, again, he's a creative that he just sees things in a whole different perspective, in a whole different realm. Like, I don't know, I think he's probably a part alien of some sort. I had these clothes. I had this, which it was like a fur set.
Yeah.
By the designer Villamore, great designer here in Chicago. She had this fur set. She had the first skirt, long fur skirt, with the boots from Cameron B, another brand that I work with here in Chicago as well. And I had, and the breastplate that I had, I actually made that, I think, a couple weeks prior.
Get out of here. Yeah. You made that?
I made that. So yeah.
How'd you make the flames come out of it?
Oh, that was just editing.
Okay.
that was editing.
I don't know. I'm thinking maybe he has, like lighters in there or something.
Right. Note to podcasters, if you watch the video, I am 100% going to CGI some flames coming out of it.
I want flames coming out of me.
I'm going to put some flames coming out of you.
So I made that a couple weeks prior. I think I bought that mannequin off eBay, and I think it took me like a couple of days to kind of shape it and mold it and how I wanted to fit. And I think they had called me.
Well, let me ask you this. Mm-hmm. Okay, so since that was such a bold, dramatic styling, did they just kind of let you go with it? Or, and this could be just asked in general, when you style a shoot, and because your looks are so very dramatic, do you ever get any pushbacks by the designers or the photographers or anybody, and how do you deal with that?
No, I think it's just really an all creative effort. We all come together and come with our ideas.
Do you kind of powwow beforehand?
We power beforehand, or even during the set. Okay. I think how can I put this? I think I've kind of proven myself, because I think anybody who kind of started now, of course, you kind of have to, they may feel a little, little nervous to kind of give input. But I think now that I've done so many of these shoots and I've done so well and kind of built a name of myself a little bit, now I'm able to give the creative input. Now I don't shoot anybody down because I'm always open to suggestions. And again, sometimes I may see something that the photographer may like, I like it, but it may not work for this specific shot or specific look. How about we kind of scale it back? Because sometimes I may go overly dramatic.
Hog wild.
Right.
And sometimes I need to be pulled back in. So I think it's just all really just a creative effort.
Okay.
Honestly. We all work together, because at the end of the day, it's all about the greater picture and coming together as a team and coming up with these ideas and making, really art. I really don't even like to say shit. So
and I agree with you. Ray, that's art. One of the things that drew me to you is really when I look at a lot of your photos, the photos that you've styled, it really does look like a piece of artwork. Like that piece that you did with Nikki and the tree on her head kind of a thing. I mean, that could be like a standalone, like a kind of a photo picture that you even just like display somewhere. Yeah, it is like artwork.
Even though I don't draw or paint hardly anymore, the artist in me has never died.
Yeah, and one can see that in your work.
It's always stays with me. I don't really consider myself so much a wardrobe stylist. I do, but I think it's more so it's creating art. So I take it very seriously. I think things out. I plan. Sometimes not everything may go according to plan, but I really try my best to put my best foot forward. And always want to elevate and always try to do each shoot as if it's my last.
Yeah. Well, we can see that.
Yeah. I want to go back. You talked about putting on an outfit and becoming that outfit.
Yes.
And we can definitely see that in your personal style. Both Teddy and I met you because of what you were wearing.
That silver suit.
It was so wild. We were like, we have to know this man's story and where this outfit came from. So I do, we have a question about just your personal style. Okay. And then if you think there's therapeutic value to dressing in these kind of over-the-top outfits, they're incredible.
It is. It's definitely therapeutic. I got that suit from ASOS.
The one that the silver?
The silver one. And the hat was custom made by my hat designer, Andre Mateo, hat designer here in Chicago.
Oh.
Love her.
Does she have her own shop? Or
I think she just creates inside of her home.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Okay. I've been a fan of hers for years.
Because that was just very striking.
Yeah, so we've collaborated on so many different projects, and so I think a couple weeks prior to the event, I reached out to her. I was like, "Hey, I have this event," and I showed her this picture that I was inspired by. I was like, "Hey, let's do something like this and make it but on a grander scale." So I showed her the outfits. We went back and forth on the fabric choices, and I think we kind of went back and forth as far as the structure, the boning, making sure that it sits upright. And so, it was just once we kind of agreed how the look came together. So, and from then on, it became, again, magic was made.
Well, just so we could put this in context, the silver suit that we're talking about with Ray, we had seen Ray at a fashion show last year in Chicago. It was honoring Cynthia Rowley and Nigel Barker was the host. Yes. It was honoring Chicago designers, and Maria Pinto was the focus of it. And Ray came to this fashion show, and Ray is 9 feet tall, first of all. And he's wearing this big silver suit with literally, it looked like he had a flying saucer on his head. It was
it was huge.
Huge, round hat. And everybody in the world took pictures of Ray in that suit.
But he made it work. That's what you should know.
He did make it work.
He made it work.
And mind you, nobody know that hours prior, I was going through so much. Work was getting on my nerves, and everything. Life was just kind of lifing.
Yeah.
But the moment I put on that suit and that hat,
it transformed you.
It transformed me. You think I was the most confident person in the world.
You
So
were.
So you're saying that's like the therapeutic value of
Yes.
these outfit choices you
Mhm.
make, because they're a whole vibe. It's not like, I think I'll wear this shirt today. You're like, I think I'll
Right.
put on this like personality almost
Exactly.
today.
Because when you look good, you feel good.
Absolutely.
It doesn't matter what type
100%.
of day you're having or what's going on in the world. You always want to put your best foot forward. Growing up, my mother and my grandmother always told me, like, take pride in how you look.
Mm-hmm.
Before you open your mouth, people are gonna, kind of judge you
Absolutely.
based on what you have on.
Absolutely.
Before you can be the most smartest person, the most prolific, and have all these profound things to say and wise.
Right.
But if you're not looking the part, then no one's ever gonna take you serious.
Right.
Can you tell us about what you're wearing now? Like, you picked this outfit to come onto our video podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Could you describe this outfit to us and why you put it on for our podcast?
Well, again, like you said, I think with my style is just very bold, and very much out there. When I was looking for outfits, I think I saw this online. I was like, okay, I like this. I'm gonna put this on. I'm like, okay, well, let me, put on the little cowboy hat just for a little extra flair, give it a little bit of cowboy collar. And I got these boots from ASOS, and yeah, like sometimes I don't even really plan my outfits like that. It's just whatever mood I'm feeling, and I just go, and if it's a specific one thing I'll look for it, and if something's close to it, I'll get it. But everything else sometimes it's just really on the fly.
Okay, for those listening, it is a white lace suit.
Mm-hmm.
He's wearing a white lace suit, diamond earrings. He's got a big flowery diamond brooch circa 1966.
Fabulous necklace.
Right. Explain the necklace. I don't even know how to talk about it.
Yeah, just again.
Chains.
Just chains. Again, I got.
But they look like shark's teeth as well.
Yeah, found this on Amazon.
Right. And these thin, super thin sunglasses that have a little metal lining under them, and a white cowboy hat. Just in case everyone has missed that.
With, by the way, lug sole loafers.
Yes.
Yeah.
There you go.
Little shoe cam.
Yeah, you do shoe modeling like I do.
Right, which make him not 9 feet tall, but 10 feet tall.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah, you know what? But the most important thing to take away from this is that you don't have to spend X amount of money.
Exactly.
To look
You don't.
We love Gucci, we love Fendi, we love Chanel, Balenciaga, Giuseppe's, Saint Laurent, all these fashion houses.
But unless you're a millionaire, you're not going to be able to buy that on a regular basis.
Even if you are a millionaire, you don't have to.
Exactly. It's all, to me, it's in the details. Because what I can see from how you dress, even though our styles are quite different, the way I think your thought process reminds me a little bit of mine, because what I will do is I will land on the main outfit.
Yes.
And then in my mind, I have specific ways I want to accessorize it.
Yes.
And you could take this white lace suit that Ray has on, and you could make it look completely different by, let's say, putting a shirt underneath it and wearing boots with it and no hat and maybe bigger stuff. I mean, so there's a million different ways to style this. So your aesthetic was very, to me, you're looking at glam.
Yes.
You know, you want to shine. You're all white, like my house. So I think Ray was looking at pictures of my house and said, I need to match Teddy's house. But yeah, it seems to me that your main body outfit comes and then you accessorize it to make it your own.
Yeah.
So it doesn't need to be a designer outfit. It doesn't need to be a specific label. It just needs to be something that you feel special and comfortable wearing. Exactly. And then you make it your own with all the accessories.
And just make it your own. You can take a $10 shirt from Target, but you can pair it with one of your most expensive jeans.
High-low dressing.
And just, dress it up or down and nice accessories, and you're good to go. Like, you don't have to spend $500 for a pair of shoes or a pair of pants. just to say like, oh, I'm fashionable.
Right.
Because
you could wear the most fabulous designer piece, and it could look blah if it's not accessorized and put together well. And accessorized means everything: your hair, your makeup, your shoes, everything that goes with that look.
Right, because you don't want to be a walking billboard for a brand.
No, exactly. You want to be you.
Exactly. And that's the thing. Like, you want to be you in everything that you do. Because there's so many people out here trying to figure out who they are or who they want to be in this world, and they don't have a clue. But I feel like once you know who you are and you celebrate who you are, you show up in your best form. And with fashion, you can do that.
Absolutely. And kind of piggybacking off of that, making the fashion your own. We all have influences in what ultimately becomes our style.
Exactly.
And everybody grows, I think, into their style at different points. Some people may flourish in their 20s. Other people may get it together more in their 40s, whatever.
Yes.
So talking about influences of your style, one of the questions that I like to ask our guests is there a particular era in history, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, whatever, is there a particular time frame that you favor and that you kind of influence your overall style?
I would definitely say the 70s.
I knew I loved this man. The 70s was like the best.
The 70s.
That's when I was like in my 20s. That was the best. Disco Man.
The 70s, Studio 54.
Oh, man.
Okay, I can see it now that you said it. The hat, the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And seeing pictures of my grandfather and with his friends and my grandmother, how they dressed, it was... I think that's just what inspires me the most. Like with the platform shoes, and how the men used to dress, just very fitting, just very and just fabulous, and just fabulous. It wasn't any gender constrictions or anything like that. It was just you put it on and you felt the best, and I don't know. It was a vibe.
It was a vibe, and it's a vibe that I think, different designers have tried to kind of piggyback off of through the decades, but nobody's really hit that. And you know why? And I think this is the interesting part of why we like it, because this show really isn't about who are you wearing or what's the labels or what's the latest trend. It's more about the psychology of why we dress, how we do, why people select certain things, why people either do dress up or people tend to not dress. It's really the psychology of fashion. What goes into dressing up?
Yes.
And in the 70s, we were coming out of the 60s rebellions. There was all the, protests for civil rights, for women's rights.
Yes.
All that. So we had, starting going into the 60s, it was the hippie look, the free love, the dress however you want. You could wear minis all the way up to here. But then we also started seeing hemlines dropping, and the midi came into play. We had the gaucho pants with the boots. We had the disco looking one shoulder. As you can see, I'm still pretending like I'm at Studio 54. But it was just, I think, the influence of fashion, particularly in that area, but I think in most eras, is based on what's happening societally as well.
Right.
And so we were breaking out of the molds. It was the recognition, Stonewall happened, so it was all the different, protests and freedoms that we were looking for. And within that freedom came the freedom to dress.
Right. It's reflecting the times that we're in. I think it goes back to kind of with the designers who make these clothes. It's like I think with Nina Simone, when she said, you can't call yourself an artist if you don't reflect the times that you're in.
Exactly.
And I think now, even with present time, with all the things we got going on,
which is a lot.
Like even when it goes back to the 60s and 70s, race relations, women's rights, abortions,
gay rights,
voting rights, all this stuff is now is coming back it's reflecting. So now there are some designers now who are reflecting those designs, even with local Chicago designers. I think there's a campaign with Ballman where he did a collaboration with the Lion King that's going to be coming out, I think, next year sometime, where you have all these different textures and patterns that's enriching culture, and it represents of everything that we've been through and everything that we're going, moving towards now. So I think that's just really important that, with our fashion, we tell our story in it. We tell our story and we show the progress that we made, or even some of the battles that we're still facing, in the hopes of overcoming that. So, and I think that's why the 70s was always my favorite, because again, like, just the fashion, it was just a vibe. It was a whole new era, and people just were ready to be free and do what they wanted to do, and just, it's also the sophistication. Again, with my grandfather and my grandmother, like how they would dress, it just looked so cool to me.
Fabulous.
Just like
bell bottoms,
right?
They were like out to here.
Yeah, I just saw recently. I just saw a picture of my grandfather. I was like, wow, like he's no longer here. He died when I was 3, but I was like, wow, if he was alive, I'd be like, Granddad, like, just like some pictures that I used to dress. Yes. And it's just like, you were just so fly. Maybe this is where I just get it from, like, because you was that dude. And go. Again, my grandmother, like, she was hot. She was hot. Like,
I love it. Our grandson calls his grandmother hot. Did you hear that, Alex?
She was a hot girl. You know? So I think that it influenced my aunt, influenced my mom, and that it just got passed down to me. So
yeah, it's kind of almost like a genetic vibe. It gets in there. It gets in the blood, and it must be in your blood that it comes out.
I think it's just in the blood. I think it was just growing up seeing my mom and my aunt and my grandmother, seeing them how they get dressed and get fly, whether it's church, a business meeting, or going out or going to work. It was just, they were very meticulous in how they got ready, how they had to close out the night before, and just, it just got passed down to me. So,
yes, it did.
And it takes me like an hour to get ready.
An hour.
Right. Like an hour plus. Like it takes
me too.
It takes me a good minute to, I know Beyonce says she wakes up like this, but not everybody does. So but
I don't think Beyonce does either. Right. I think we'll pretend like Queen Bee does.
Right. But like it, it's a production. It
is a production.
I gotta make sure I'm right before I step out the door. Now, depending on where I'm going to. Now, if it's a grocery store, I don't care how I look.
Okay, so you don't care how you look. You'll just like slap on anything and just go.
I'll just slap on anything. But if I'm going out, I'm stepping out, then I'm gonna step out.
Okay. So about your everyday, you're going into Target, you're going into the Jewel, whatever. How do you think most people look for what they look for in their apparel? Would you say it's comfort, style, personal expression, or do you think that most people just don't care? I mean, when you're talking about the general population now.
I think it's style, and then it's how comfortable it makes them. Because I guess, if you're an everyday person that's probably going to the store, you're a stay-at-home mom, or you're going to the office, or just, soccer events, you want to be able to be comfortable, but still, a little fashionable. So I think in today's society, I think that's a lot of things I hear now.
Do you think most people care about looking fashionable? Most people. I'm just talking about in general.
I think most people do, but there's always a few, probably like that good percentage of people who probably just don't care. Yeah. They're just you're gonna get whatever I give you. I think that's their mindset how they approach it.
Why do you think that is? That they don't really, like, they'll just throw whatever a t-shirt and a pair of jeans or whatever they just happen to have around, throw it on, and for the most part, that's how they look. Why? What do you think's behind the thought of that?
Probably because they either don't care, or they're probably not a fashion person, or that wasn't something that just really kind of, because to me, I was kind of groomed into it. So it was always about, looking, even going to the airport. Yes. I remember growing up as a kid, like, my grandmother did not play that. She was like, no, you're going to look presentable going to this airport. I don't care how long this flight is. You're going to put on a nice pair of clothes, a nice pair of shirt, a nice pair of jeans, and you're going to look presentable. So I think in today's society, I think now they're so much wrapped up in being comfortable.
Yes.
They just want, they're not really caring about, what's fashionable, what's hot, or,
Right.
who's looking at me. I think they just want to get from point A to point B.
Or maybe they're hoping that someone doesn't look at them because
That
they're
too.
out running errands and they just need to get on with it.
But again, I think you have to be careful because sometimes if you are in fit fashion, say if you're a model, if you may not, you can be running across someone who's a model scout, but if you're not even looking at the part, they're not even gonna really approach you. But it all depends. It all depends on how striking you are. But again, if you're not looking your best, who's gonna approach you?
Right. Who's going to pay attention to you?
Yeah.
So some of it is attention, and fashion people do. We like attention.
Yeah.
We sure do.
I'll look in the camera. We like attention.
We like attention.
But why don't people dress for dinner anymore? And that's just so you know the context of our question. Melissa and I had a conversation that brought us together, and it was about old movies and how in the old movies people would dress up for dinner. A woman could have on just a perfectly fine dress, and the husband would say in the movie or whatever, let's go out to dinner. Oh, I'm not dressed yet. Let me go get dressed. And she'd put on a better dress to go out.
Mm-hmm.
When you go to restaurants now, or you go out to dinner or to the theater now, or to the opera, which used to be a place where everybody got all glammed up.
Yes.
You see people dressing the same way as they would at an expensive restaurant that they would be to go to Applebee's or Denny's or whatever. Why do you think that we have started to kind of dress down, period, as a society? Why don't you think people dress for dinner anymore?
Well, you know what? I think my response is going to be a little shady, and I'm probably going to be getting in trouble for saying this.
That's okay. We like controversy. We like controversy.
But
We bring it.
To me, it's not surprising because folks don't even get dressed to go to fashion shows anymore.
Right.
There's been a couple fashion shows that I've been to, and people don't dress up, and it's just like, wow, this is kind of sad because with fashion shows, you want to
bring it.
You want to show your fashion. So to me, it's not surprising that they're not dressing up for dinner anymore because.
Do you have kind of in your mind a reason? Is there some kind of reason that people are just not?
It could be a multitude of things. Either maybe they don't care. Maybe they're not into fashion. Maybe they can't probably afford those.
But now you're
designer
even
things.
saying you're noticing even in the fashion world,
Mm-hmm.
people who do love fashion and are going to a fashion show aren't really bringing it. So what do you think is behind that?
I think it's probably just the idea of I just want to be comfortable. I don't want to get dressed up in the glitz and glam and just sit there for a few hours, sit in the outfit that I'm probably going to just wear once.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd rather, buy something that I can probably get wear out of, on immediate occasions.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's probably just a mindset of that. Okay. So, yes.
So it's really more just people are wanting to be comfortable. Fashion isn't the statement-making kind of process that it was in maybe previous eras.
Yeah. It's just a generational thing. It's just, I think as generation goes on and time goes on, people change, the norm changed.
Yeah.
So I think everybody just has their idea of what they probably think of what fashion is and what they think is probably, dinner attire or fashion show attire, more to speak. But
do you see in the future that evolving or changing, or do you think we're pretty much now stuck in this quote unquote comfort zone?
Maybe in the next 10 years, hopefully that will change, but you just never know. Life has its way of its twists and turns, and again, fashion is unpredictable. Mm-hmm. What may be hot now may not be hot in the next couple of years.
Right.
So I think it really all depends. But hopefully, maybe we can start the trend of where people do start.
Yes. Well, hopefully by watching our podcast. Yeah. With Melissa and Teddy and our special guest, Ray Jeremiah, that people will start paying a little bit more attention to their fashion. Because I agree with you, Ray. just like your grandmother. I'm from that same generation. And, we were taught this, maybe it's a generational thing, but my mother always said to me, people are going to judge you the minute you walk into a room.
Yes.
That's right.
You don't even have to open your mouth.
Yes.
But the minute you walk in that room, people are going to make a decision about what they think about you.
Exactly.
And also, just like your grandmother did when she made you dress up to go to the airport or whatever, my mother was, and you need to look good all the time.
Yeah.
Because you never know who you're going to bump into. And my mother would always say to me, Teddy, even when you go to the grocery store, she says, you could throw anything on because you're just going to go pick up, a box of detergent or something like that. Because back then our detergent came in boxes. But she said, watch. You will run into the one person that you thought you would never run into, and you will look like crap, and you will regret it for the rest of your life.
Yes.
So be prepared.
Yes.
And I think it was that mindset that your grandmother had as well, too. You never know who you're going to run into. You want to make a good impression.
Yeah.
People treat you differently. Do you notice this, Ray?
They do.
When you're dressed.
Yes.
As opposed to when you're kind of like, being like, you're just whatever, throwing whatever on. But you get more special attention if you're looking good, right?
Yeah, you do.
Do you think that's some of the psychology, though, of people dressing down is they don't want this special attention? Because we talked about this when you're like, oh, I'm an introvert when I'm at work, but when I'm going out, when I want to interact with people, but I don't have the energy, we talked about this before the show, I dress up.
I think it's kind of like that thing, what they call pretty privilege.
Mm-hmm.
Which I guess that could be another topic for another podcast.
Yes.
I guess. But yeah, I think if you if you have a certain aesthetic or a certain look or what you have on, you do get treated much differently.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
So as I think Melissa was alluding to, maybe one of the reasons that people dress down is because they don't want to be seen. They don't want to be bothered. They don't want the attention.
Yes.
Do you agree, Melissa?
I agree with that.
I think that's part of it.
I agree.
I think people are overtaxed with how much they are already being reached out to via our phones, via the computer, via this, via that,
Constant
and they're just
demands.
like, I just want to disappear into this meal.
I guess with celebrities, when they go out, they're so much in the forefront.
Right.
So when they do go out, they kind of dress down so they don't really be.
Well, and draw attention for paparazzi if they tend to have paparazzi following them around.
Right. But again, we have to remember we're not, we're regular people. So again, we still, try to, look presentable,
Right.
look our best. Because again, when you look your best, you feel your best, and then you're able to show up in the world as you are.
Well, we have to say, you look absolutely fabulous today, Ray. Thank you so much for coming and joining us, and we can hear your perspective and your just over-the-top styling that is so fabulous. If anybody wants to check more on Ray, you can find him on Instagram. Ray, give us your Instagram handle.
Yes, my Instagram handle is _Ray.Jeremiah.
And you can see a lot of Ray's styling on his Instagram page. It's fabulous. Like I said, it's actually like artwork. So thanks so much for joining us today, Ray. And stay fabulous.
Thank you, too.
And if you'd like us to dress up more, invite us to dinner.
Yes, we would love to go to some restaurants and show everyone how you should show up for dinner.
That part.
Exit stage left.